2. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I live at Viewpoint at the Ridge, with the dreaded Viewpoint, but I have a good view of the North Slope, and a lot of times I see, unsettling activities over there, and I'm just curious who to support who to report these activities to. I mean, one night I saw a bonfire up on the slope in Buckeye Canyon.
Start with the police department. 911 police
Well,
department.
I did, but they didn't really refer me to, I realized it was at night and there probably wasn't anything anybody could do, but, there should be zero tolerance for people, homeless people living on the mountain, or people going up there building campfires, or people going up and setting off fireworks on the fire road east of Buckeye Canyon.
I agree with you wholeheartedly, certainly based on this past incident. But again, I think
You
you've got to call it.
that kind of stuff.
Well,
If people can walk in there and live in there, then authorities should be able to go in there and get them out.
We will certainly make that remark. That's why we wrote down county eviction. This will be the second eviction of this particular encampment. When was the last time it happened? 4 years ago, 5 years ago? It was previously removed, and the gentleman is back now. But again, if you see unsettling things on there, you really should call the police department, and the police undoubtedly will contact either county parks or state fish and game, because that's their area of responsibility and authority, and they need to be the ones to respond to it. So it's not trying to be a cop-out, but we start with our local law enforcement, and they make the appropriate contact from there. Yes, sir.
And just, since this has come up a couple times today, I'm aware that I believe as of yesterday, the eviction process had been started at least on one of the individuals who has been encamped up there, and action will be taken against anybody else.
Outstanding. I think Tom was next, and then Pat.
I just wanted to say that with making sure that everybody's property is cleaned up and everything, it's not just the cutting down or topping your trees for the view. The city really needs to look at the brush that's laying in people's yards that they've left in limbs, because they've cleared their views, but then it's laid there I have a neighbor, it's been 4 years. The stuff's been laying there, and nothing, I called and it's still there.
And Mark, the number to call if people have concerns like that.
Elizabeth's number.
Is Elizabeth's number, which is?
As far as this, as the weed abatement, everybody got a letter, and I'll be outside, I'm with fire prevention. Starting July 4th week, I'm gonna start looking at every property in the city. So right now, don't worry about calling Elizabeth. A lot of people call, try to report other neighbors. We're gonna try to look at every property, and that's what we're trying to do. Our concern is ladder fuel. It's not so much a eucalyptus tree. I've had a lot of people complain about trees. Trees don't start fires. They don't really make them burn bigger. We're concerned about the grasses, the limbs that you're talking about, small stuff that can start fires. And that's why we're trying to offer some suggestions. We've talked about dumpsters. As you leave, there's Lowe's here. They've got some printout. They've done some research on fire safe plants, how to change your yard to make it a little bit safer and a little less work. I guess now is a good time to bring it up. I found someone who is a landscape instructor who's willing to come teach a class on how to make your yard fire safe, how to make it California native, but still look very nice if there's enough interest. And that's what I need to find out. The city we're working with the city to provide places, to provide some advertising for it. If that's something that interests you guys, please let me know so we can kind of track, because there is cost involved, and we need to know whether we have enough interest to bring someone in like that. But your help in this process to nicely talk to your neighbors and say, I went to a meeting, they talked about, getting rid of the fuels, can I help you get the limbs out? Maybe it's someone that just doesn't understand. And after the July, I think 7th is the date that we're going to try to have all the properties looked at, and I can't promise that'll happen. Then if you have specific things, feel free to call the fire department. Elizabeth will take the calls. She's in the office a whole lot more than I am. I'm out and about a lot. She'll be happy to talk to you, take the information. She has a lot of answers that she can help you with, and she can pass on information to me also. But we are going to be looking at every property. We have the chief's backing to bring in one of our other inspectors to help out if need be. But you helping out each other, and if you feel comfortable talking to your neighbor, maybe offering help. And as I say, we've been talking about trying to get a dumpster, and as the program continues year to year, we're going to get better in this. We're going to learn how to help each other out, and I think that's the key, is working with everybody else. I'm not going to be able to see everything, but I'm going to do my best. And Elizabeth is there beside me, just like today.
Thanks, Mark.
Protecting us.
My question has to do with the eucalyptus, and I know it's a roof community at the top of the mountain in some spots, but it just seems sort of a bizarre pattern. And I'm just curious, what is the future of more removal? If the fire had gotten to that spot, it just would explode.
Well,
I'm looking for some help on this, Bob.
I was going to facetiously tell her to look to her immediate right.
I have asked.
And now substituted in.
For those of you who don't know me, I'm Steve Waldo. I've been a member of the City Council for a number of years. I'm not a fire guy. I consider eucalyptus trees to be standing matches.
Yeah. Amen. Absolutely.
There are folks in town who absolutely disagree with me. But I'm going to have on the City Council agenda the removal of all kinds of eucalyptus up above there on Margaret and Paul, on San Mateo, and in other places. And we've talked before about a program where the city might be able to assist people who have difficult eucalyptus on private property. There's issues about what we can require on private property and all of that. But that will be on the City Council's agenda in July or in September. Pay attention, come, speak.
Yeah.
Thank you for doing the heavy lifting on that, Steve. On those questions. Dan, you had your hand up. Did you have it? Dan, Paul?
I have a question on, talk about the vegetation around people's yards, and there's this 100-foot, area which is impossible in Brisbane because you only have 25 or 50-foot lots, but, so you can't, control your neighbor's lots, and when I saw some houses where there's nobody living there, and the land is overgrown, the trees are the roof is piled with needles, there's nobody living in the house because they've got plans that they're gonna rip it down, they want the house to rip down eventually, and how do you deal with those houses when there's nobody living there and nothing is being maintained at all? And then the next question is it possible to get something growing, ice plant or whatever, up on the mountain, on areas where there wouldn't be grasses, something else growing that wouldn't burn?
I won't talk about the mountain because that's not something that we do, but let me talk about your first question. All properties have an owner and are part of our listing of ownership within Brisbane. Businesses, residents, it doesn't matter if they're occupied or not, they all receive a letter saying you got to clear your property. And the 100-foot, understand 100 feet is in areas where California wants 100 feet. We're not asking for 100 feet because you'd have to take 3 houses in a row to do that. That's a California standard as it relates, and as more down in Southern California where we have remote areas where homes are out by themselves, there is 100 feet to clear. The reason is that the slope that comes up causes 100-foot flame lengths. Just watch this summer on TV, you'll see how far the flame laps up. So they want that cleared. That's not going to happen here. We're looking at 30 feet. That's what the city ordinance calls for. But it makes no difference whether it's occupied or not. We'll clean it. And to your question, and this is where it gets expensive, because the city has to front the money. We do notices, and we finally go in and clean properties. We did it last year. We'll do it this year. People just refuse to do it. Whether they're refusing or just don't pay attention or they just can't do it. We do it, clean the property, and eventually the city gets the money back. But I would tell you, if we did that to a lot of properties, we'd put a big hurt on the cash flow in the city. So we need people to clean up their properties and not have us use an enforcement process to do it. But we will take care of them through our review this year.